1-minute opening statement, and they begin when ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Tony Brisson from the California delegation.
And I'm Scheherbano Rafay from the family of Alabama.
And we reserve the right to yield the remainder of our time to our summation speech.
That is your right.
When the Founding Fathers wrote a new Constitution for the United States, fears of harmful foreign influence were very much on their minds. To avoid this negative influence, the Founding Fathers adopted a clause making foreign-born U.S. citizens ineligible to become president. The United States is a far cry from the country formed nearly 230 years ago. Millions of immigrants have now made our country the most diverse nation on earth, and it's time that our Constitution reflects that reality. Our proposal would seek to alter our Constitution so that it would grant naturalized citizens at least 14 years of resident to the United States the eligibility to run for president. Limiting presidential eligibility to natural-born citizens is unfair towards naturalized citizens and does not allow for us to find the best president possible. You see, the natural-born citizen requirement is the only provision in the Constitution that explicitly denies rights to American citizens based on one immutable characteristic: birthplace. But why do we allow for this? America is a land of opportunity. People leave their homelands and their families and move to America because they know that they will be treated fairly and have the same chance to prosper as their next-door neighbors. It doesn't matter where you come from. Once you become an American citizen, you've become an important part of this country and are allowed to take part in its many opportunities. And the opportunity to run for president should be no different. If any natural-born American can run to be the leader of the free world, it should be a guaranteed right that naturalized citizens have exactly the same opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, this discussion should not be about who decides to run, but instead why they decide to run. Hamilton, Kissinger, Cusack, Albright, and Dempsey, all American politicians who have served our country with honor and loyalty, fulfilling roles from governor to secretary of state. These extraordinary people, all of whom were born in a place other than America, have proven to us their ability to run and successfully hold a political position. And so I ask, what is it about these citizens that makes them less qualified, less deserving to run for the highest office in the land? What is it about their birthplace that makes them unable to properly represent the people of this country? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. When I said that we need the best president for the job, I meant it. When it comes to running the most powerful and free country in the world, we should not be judging candidates based on their gender, race, or sexual orientation. And for the purposes of this proposal, we should most definitely not be judging candidates based on where they are born. We should be judging them based on their ability to represent and lead the best country on the face of this earth, nothing more and nothing less. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of our time to our summation speech.
Thank you. You have yielded 20 seconds. It is now time for non-victim questions. Are there any such questions on the floor? New York, Mexico, Massachusetts, Albers, Sure, North Carolina, New York, Martin, Cody Harbor, Slip, Oklahoma, Arizona, Oklahoma, Alabama. Delegates? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Megan Stacy, New York State. What other political offices can naturalized citizens hold?
All other offices.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Wade from New Mexico. So how long exactly do people need to be a resident in the United States in order to run for president under your proposal?
Well, it takes 5 years to become a naturalized citizen, and then after that they must reside for 14 years.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Tessa Scher, and I am from Florida, and my question has been answered.
Thank you, Alex Roder, Massachusetts. Would citizens that become naturalized and serve their time be able to run for president from any country?
Yes, any country.
Thank you, William Shipkin, North Carolina. Are there any other countries in which our practice is their practice?
Only 3 other countries: Afghanistan, Argentina, Colombia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. James Castellan, the Empire State of New York. How many naturalized citizens currently hold political positions in the United States?
There are 2 in Congress, 3 members of the President's Cabinet, and there have been 2 state Supreme Court justices.
All right, thank you.
Tracy Young, Missouri delegation. How long does this person usually live in the United States before they are able to become naturalized?
For Africans, it's 5 years, Asians, it's 6 years, North Americans, it's 10 years, Europe is 7 years, and Oceania is 8 years.
Speaking of the great state of Oklahoma, how long does the process of naturalization take?
About a year.
Maxwell Martin from the state of Louisiana. To what country was President Ted Cruz born?
I believe he was born in Canada.
Friedman family of Alabama. What percent or how many of the U.S. population is naturalized citizens?
6%.
Ishmael Scheherbano from the Buckeye State of Ohio. So you stated that they would have to live in the United States for 14 years before they could run for presidency. Does that include the time that they were waiting to become naturalized citizens?
No.
Thank you.
Alex Giulio, Dryden, State of Arizona. How many naturalized citizens are currently serving in Congress?
2.
Are there any further technical questions on the floor? Texas, Florida, Utah, the delegate in the back from America, delegates in the back from New Jersey and Model United Nations, Texas, Oklahoma, delegate from Pennsylvania, Texas, Colorado, Texas.
Bud Riley Milliken from the Republic of Texas. Can you please explain to the plenary how candidates like Ted Cruz and John McCain are eligible for presidency?
Sure.
Please be brief.
Those candidates have parents who were U.S. citizens, so when they were born in those countries, they automatically became U.S. citizens.
Thank you, Alder.
Dear Senators from the Republic of Texas, will candidates who are not socialized under the age of 18 to the country still be eligible to run?
Can you be more specific?
Candidates who were not socialized to the culture of the U.S. under the age of 18, would they still be eligible to run?
There is no age restriction.
My name is Camille McMillan, and I am from Florida. How many people per year are naturalized?
I don't have statistics on that.
PG County, New Jersey, could you please clarify the position of dual citizens in your proposal, what their situation would be?
Sure. Currently, people who are born in other countries to U.S. Citizens are already dual citizens and they can run. People who are dual citizens and become they automatically give up their allegiance to those countries when they take their oath.
Thank you, Alder.
My name is Daniel Isley, and I am from Florida. Currently, how many citizens in America are eligible to run for president?
Currently, 300.
Ryan Talbot from Colorado. What other restrictions are there right now to run for vice president or president?
They have to be a resident for 14 years, be 35 years old, and
Must live in the United States for at least 14 years prior, but we're just changing that for now.
thank you.
The Lawson Harvey Delaware delegation, thank you, Madam Chair. For territories like Puerto Rico, which have naturalized citizens, will this give them electoral votes?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. The time for technical questions has now elapsed. The chair would like to recognize the con-intent speaker. Is there such a speaker on the floor? The chair recognizes Model United Nations delegate. You'll have 3 minutes.
Justin Greenman, Model United Nations delegation. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, as was brought up previously by the authors, when this addition to the Constitution was added, it was because the U.S. was deathly afraid of a British subject uniting the Loyalists and taking back over the U.S. and giving it back, basically back to England. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that specific fear still exists. I don't think England wants America, to be honest, but that's irrelevant. However, we have to realize that these fears still exist. If we even go back to, at that time period, John Jay, who was basically America's first diplomat and the eventual first Chief Justice, his kids were raised in England while he was negotiating the Jay Treaty. He personally said, I don't have the exact quote, but to paraphrase, he said that he was afraid that his kids would not be Americans, that they would be English, no matter when they moved to America. As was brought up previously by the others, this proposal does not guarantee that these citizens, these potential candidates for the presidency or vice presidency have to have been born in America, have to have lived in America before they were 18. We're all assuming, they moved when they were 3 months old. We cannot assume that. They could have lived in their home country or whatever country for the first 40, 50, whatever years of their life. almost all of us here, I assume, in fact all of us are 14 or older. It is really not that much time. It is not as much time to guarantee that you understand the cultures of America, that you understand our ways. It is not, okay? I'm 15 and I still don't understand all of America's ways, let alone if I was moving to a new country and I had to learn about those ways myself. Now, there were questions about whether this constitutional matter. The Supreme Court had two specific modern cases where they decided that it is okay to not have non-natural born citizens have positions of power. In Sugarman versus Dogle and Foley versus Connolly, they ruled that, quote, non-natural born citizens may not affect large public functions at the heart of decision making. Okay? As was what 300 million people are still eligible to vote. Are still eligible to run for presidency. This is a very small minority of people who could possibly be even qualified to run for this position. Second to last point, I promise. Oh yeah. I'm going to give you a situation. Remember, this is for president and vice president. A presidential candidate on the Republican Party wants the Republicans to get Latin American votes because let's get real here, they're not going to get that many Latin American votes. So, what do? They choose an immigrant from one of these Latin American countries with little experience because they want to get those votes. The Hispanic voters, we all know that voter turnout is very low. All you need is high turnout for a minority, from people from this country, and this presidential candidate or vice presidential candidate could get elected. Maybe you're thinking that I'm being extreme, I'm overblowing almost, but I'm not.
Delegate, your time has elapsed. It is now time for the pro and ten speaker is such a speaker on the floor. The chair will wait until the floor is quiet. Is the pro and ten speaker present? The chair recognizes New York.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Nicholas Marshall, New York State Delegation. Albert Einstein, Alfred Hitchcock, Henry Kissinger, Dave Matthews, Elie Wiesel. These are all names of notable people we have come to know as some of the most respected pillars in their respective crafts. They have also happened to hail from foreign countries, from places such as Germany, Britain, South Africa, and Romania. All of their different experiences and attributes were brought together and celebrated in America. Additionally, all of these people became naturalized U.S. citizens, as they believed that this country accepted them for who they are, and they wanted to be able to fully live the life guaranteed to those of you who are sitting in front of me now. However, these people aren't fully Americans. They aren't fully Americans because not just any American is allowed to run for the presidency or the vice presidency when they reach the age of 35. If we know and respect the amazing work and accomplishments these few of many naturalized heroes of our country, then why not guarantee another equally competent candidate the opportunity to lead our country? As stated in lines 15 and 16 of the proposal, naturalized citizens may, however, register for the draft, can vote in national elections, and hold office as governor and serve even as high as Secretary of State. In addition to Henry Kissinger's service as Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, the first woman to serve as Secretary of State, was also born in a foreign nation, Czechoslovakia, and yet still served as one of the highest offices in the White House for 4 years. I personally feel that it is time to update certain aspects of our nation's constitution, as the same type of prejudice that was put into place to protect foreign influence on governmental decisions made in our country is the same prejudice that said that people like me only counted for 3/5 of a person. I also don't think that the writers of our Constitution would be too keen on the idea that 3/5 of the person is now currently running our country. Also in the Constitution, under the 14th Amendment, it says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Thank you, delegates. You may resume.
And subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. Ladies and gentlemen, these people pledged allegiance to the United States and the United States alone. We need to stop treating them like aliens and start treating them like the citizens in all respects they deserve to be. And that is why I urge the passage of this proposal. Thank you, and I yield the remaining time to my chair.
It is now time for the chair to recognize a con speech on the floor. Is there such a speech? The chair recognizes Hall.
There's a very significant
clause into the Constitution. Let me explain. In the justification of this proposal, the author of this proposal provides the example of an individual moved to the United States at only days old, served for his country, and holds allegiance for the United States. This is a prime example of a naturalized citizen. What if we considered a different, yet very possible example? Consider an individual moved to the United States at age 15, actively supporting ISIS movements in secret and holding dubious loyalty to his native country and the United States. He is seemingly patriotic and very bright. Once in office, he subtly makes small yet biased decisions. He subconsciously influences this nation in the wrong way. The Founding Fathers successfully prepared for this in the Constitution. I have the exact John Jay quote referred to by a previous speaker. Quote, whether it would not be wise and seasonable to provide a strong check to the admission of foreigners into the administration of our national government, and to declare expressly that the command-in-chief of the American army shall not be given to, nor devolve on, any but a natural-born citizen. The exclusion of foreigners in our federal government is an extremely important preventative measure.
Thank you, Delegate. It is now time for a pro speech. There's such a speech on the floor. The chair would like to recognize Plenary from Wisconsin. Before you begin, the chamber will be quiet.
Max Coleman Arts, Wisconsin delegation, thank you, Chair, and I would like to reserve my right to yield all remaining time to Lawrence from Texas.
That is your right.
Thank you. First, I would just like to say that as far as many concerns that we're going to elect a president that doesn't have our interests at heart, this isn't saying we're going to elect him, it's saying we have the option to. It doesn't mean that this person is just magically going to become president. It's giving not only that person the right to run for president, but also giving the American people the right to choose that person for president. And as far as saying that they're going to have other interests at heart, there's not really that much preventing someone here from having other interests at heart within this country. I urge you to vote no on this proposal, and I yield the remainder of my time to Lawrence from Texas.
Senator Lawrence from the Republic of Texas. It just so happens that's a very logical argument. It makes a lot of sense. There is a large vetting process along with me running for president. There is a large amount of media. There is a large amount of things that go along with this that it's unimaginable that something along the lines of an ISIS insurgent in the United States could actually run for president successfully. The likelihood of this happening is so minuscule, it's almost impossible. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. It is now time for a con speech. There are con speech on the floor. The chair would like to recognize Simmons.
Theo Simmons from the Republic of Texas. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I reserve the right to yield to Faulkner from Texas.
That is your right.
People who grew up American were socialized into the culture of America. When they were born, they might have gotten their first tricycle and ridden around the neighborhood. They might have seen people going to work, hardworking Americans going to businesses. Through this process, they have grown up through this country and understand what this culture means. People who come here when they are 30, 40, 50 years old, which this proposal does not protect against. They didn't grow up here. While they may spend 14 years with naturalization, they are not actually socialized into the culture as well as someone else would. I would love to see an amendment on this saying that it would be cut off at 18, but that isn't on here. I believe that the best person to lead Americans is a socialized to the culture of America. I hate to bring up a personal anecdote. I was not born in this country, and I do not personally believe that I should lead this country of Americans. I yield the remainder of my time to Andrew Faulkner from Texas.
Thank you, Faulkner, for the
Before you
Republic.
begin, I would just like to remind all delegates to display placards when they speak. You may continue.
Andrew Faulkner from the Republic of Texas. My main problem with this proposal is that it strains relations with other nations. Say that America naturalizes an Israeli citizen and runs for president, wins the election. What does that do? It strains relations with Saudi Arabia. Do we want that? No. Say we elect a Venezuelan naturalized citizen. Even though we have an embargo, maybe they come over here and get protection or something. Whatever. That's a communist leader in our nation. I don't think that we want this nation to be turned into communism. Also, David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom right now could be naturalized and become president and still be younger than Ronald Reagan. Think about that. Ronald Reagan. I yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. It is now time for the final pro speech on this proposal. The chair would like to recognize Bush. Thank you, delegates, for remaining quiet. I appreciate that.
Sean Bush, Connecticut delegation. I reserve the right to speak. Delegate one right.
That's your right.
Okay, so the first, so the fact that naturalized citizens do not have the ability to run for presidency and vice presidency is just like another basic form of discrimination. I completely understand where people are coming from when they say that people might not have the best interests at mind, but the reality of the situation is that to assume that they don't have the best interests at mind is just another form of discrimination, and that's not fair. And throughout this conference, I've heard a lot of people say, the majority of people even today regarding the proposal about about equality and everybody having equality, said that everyone should get the same rights. That was a big topic that we had, but to say that people should not get the same rights because they're from another country is just as bad and makes no sense and it's very contradictory. So I urge you all to pass this proposal, and I give it to my friend Delegate One Rice from
Waterways, Missouri. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, previous speaker. I would like really quickly just to say that just because somebody rides a tricycle through the streets at a very young age means that they know how to run this nation more than somebody who has studied the United States for several years in an effort to be political and be involved in the country which they choose to be a part of. So thank you, and I yield my remainder of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. It is now time for the final con speech on this proposal. Is there a final con speech on the floor? The chair would like to recognize Vada. The chair would like to remind delegates not to speak to authors when they drop off notes.
Lucas Baker from Nevada. I would like to reserve the right to yield me my remaining time to write for a second.
That is your right.
We have just elected our first African American president, and that itself is amazing. But to think about this, and we ended segregation in 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education case. And still today, with all the cases that just happened, there is still racism in this country. Okay? Now, if you think about it, we are trying to have somebody that's going to run for a foreign country. Where is the possibility that they will actually be elected by the American people? If we just elected our first Black American president, what's possible that this will happen? So I applaud the intent of this, but if it actually will happen, I will not see it happening for a very long time. So this is basically a useless proposal. I yield the rest of my time to Kentucky.
Evan Wright, representing the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Madam Chair. Why can't anyone run? I mean, if you're David Cameron and you want to run for the President of the United States, why can't you run? Why do you have to be a naturalized citizen? Why can't a legal immigrant run? Like, if you care about this country enough, it should be up to the citizens who can vote to decide if you can become president. If you have research about the politics of this nation, if you care, if you want to contribute this nation, you should be able to. This proposal doesn't go far enough. Anyone should be able to run for president if they want to. It's just about if you care about this nation. We shouldn't discriminate. This proposal is still discriminating. You have to live here for 14 years? What makes someone who lives here for 14 years any better than someone who doesn't live here for 14 years? They can still represent me, they can still say my views, and they can still carry out policy efficiently. You don't have to live here for a certain amount of time to be able to run a country effectively. That's illogical. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. With that, time for con-pro debate has now elapsed. The authors are recognized for their 2-minute and 20-second summation. They may begin when ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Scheherbano Rafay from the family of Alabama. First, I'd like to address the argument that this is unconstitutional. Yes, this is currently unconstitutional. That's why we're creating a constitutional amendment. This proposal is very simple. It's about equality. Discriminating against naturalized citizens in regard to presidential office is against our 14th Amendment rights. The Supreme Court ruled once naturalized, an individual is afforded precisely the same same protection of his or her right to associate as is a natural-born citizen. Naturalized citizens are just as American as a natural-born citizen. They, in fact, are the only people that explicitly pledge an oath to the United States. Furthermore, they take a test of naturalization that 1 in 3 natural-born citizens fail. Naturalized citizens are already eligible for all other offices, including the Supreme Court and Secretary of State. They fight, serve, and die for this nation. They should be allowed to lead it in the highest office as well. To question the patriotism and loyalty of these naturalized citizens is an insult to the principles on which this nation was founded. No one questions the patriotism of Alexander Hamilton, or Madeleine Albright, or Henry Kissinger, all of whom were naturalized citizens. There are plenty of people born in the United States who do not have its best interest in mind. Current law grants Timothy McVeigh, Charles Manson, and Dylan Roof the right to run for president. Yet millions of naturalized citizens do not have the same right. Patriotism is not a geographically based concept. Where you are born physically does not dictate your loyalties. When immigrants enter the United States and see the Statue of Liberty, it does not say, give me your elite, your wealthy, your entrenched, antiquated notions. It says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to break free. This nation was built by immigrants. America is a place that prides itself on the principle that no matter where you come from and who you are afforded all the same rights and opportunities as anybody else. No exceptions. I yield my time.
Thank you all. The motion before the plenary session, is that proposal number 14 is recommended to pass. All those in favor, please stand and say aye.